Today is November 5th, 2017, and this video I'd like to do a monthly time cycle count using planetary positions, planetary transits and so forth. Here I have the date, November 6, 2017, 9:10, 10 past 9 a.m. This is set to New York time for tomorrow when Wall Street opens. Now, here we have the symbols of the planets. So this symbol here is actually, this is our sun, or circle. This 4 symbol is Jupiter. And this symbol is Venus. Now for now I'd like to focus on these 3. Now Jupiter represents, it's generally a positive energy planet, represents prosperity, good fortune. It's a bringer of those things. Venus, love, happiness, and can represent prosperity and health and so forth. So here we have Jupiter and Venus, and we have the Sun. Now let's look how close they are together. Now when we have planets that are transiting through a zodiac sign, so this is Scorpio, and more importantly when they're transiting closer to the Sun, when these planets get closer to the Sun magnifies their effect even greater, because the Sun is the center of our solar system. And the Sun gives us energy, it gives us life and everything. So that's the way how I was taught best to look at this in regards to astro cycles. So we have Jupiter transiting closer to the Sun, which is called a conjunction, and also Venus, which will be transiting closer to Jupiter. So here we have an intensified effect, positive energy. I'd like to, for a minute, just go back a month and explain why, during the month of October, why markets moved the way they did, why I believe they did, and why we saw no major correction or crash during October. And it's got to do with, I believe, my own personal, how I analyze these time cycles has to primarily do with Jupiter and the Sun through the house of Libra. So here we've gone back to October 7th. Now we know the month of October, markets were very bullish. Here we have the Sun and Jupiter in the same house, the zodiac sign of Libra. This symbol is Mercury. So we have the Sun, if we scroll forward by some days, 13th. Here we have the Sun transiting and coming closer to the conjunct of Jupiter. Jupiter has positive influence. It's opposing certain other aspects which I won't explain at the moment. But all we need to know is Jupiter, it has its dominance at the moment, and its intensified effects is because of the Sun transiting closer, and also Mercury transiting closer and through Jupiter as well. So as we know, the markets during the month of October loved this, and we had very bullish extreme markets. So if we scroll further ahead, even through October 20th, we have Jupiter, the Sun, and even the moon, Mercury, all very close together. Mercury has actually made a transition through Jupiter, but we still consider this a conjunct. And during that period, the markets obviously were still very bullish because of this. This is what I believe. October 25th, the Sun, Jupiter's almost conjunct. Markets are still extremely bullish. So let's go back to our November 6th. Now, here we have, this is the planet Uranus, and that number 25 represents the degrees it is in the house of Aries. Now 25, 26 degrees in astro cycles in Aries is what we call a hard aspect. It's an intensified aspect, okay? So here we have Uranus, 25 degrees is a hard aspect. Now, Uranus is a planet that can bring disruption, unexpected events, very shocking news and so forth. So what does this mean for financial markets? Well, if Uranus has an intensified effect, it can bring some kind of event to the market that can shock the markets. So what do we have in relation to Uranus? Venus on Monday, October 6th, Tuesday, October 7th, 2017. So here Venus and Uranus is in opposition. So they're opposing each other. So think of it as a tug of war. Now we know Venus is transiting closer to Jupiter, and it's on the cusp of Scorpio. Now Scorpio, when planets are in zodiac sign of Scorpio, it can bring of nature of, once again, unexpected events in Scorpio, where when these planets were in Libra is a very balanced, harmonious type house. It's generally positive. Scorpio can bring unexpected, shocking type of events. Now, as I said, we have an opposition, Uranus to Venus, that's in Scorpio. And we have the Sun, Jupiter, and Venus pretty much all in Scorpio. So even though these two planets we know are positive and it's magnified by the Sun, but because they're in the house of Scorpio, which can be a disruptive and have a sting to it, and given we have Uranus on a hard aspect, this hard aspect and this opposition, and because they're in the house of Scorpio and the Sun magnifies it, could magnify Uranus and its disruption. So what I'm getting at is, this week we could possibly get some news. Doesn't have to necessarily do with the market exactly. It could be some foreign event or something occurring like that. That's unexpected, and it disrupts the market's movement. So we could get a bit of a shock event during this during this week. But if we scroll, let's move forward in time to Tuesday the 14th. Okay, so beginning of next week, we see that Venus has moved out of opposition to Uranus. So my time cycle analysis of next week, I think once that opposition passes, any disruptions to the market for the time being will probably be short-lived. So what I'm forecasting is we may see a few 100-point sell-off on the Dow, and that may lead to other markets, the DAX, the Nikkei. But once that passes, excuse me, as of next week, we're going to be once again under the influence of Jupiter, Venus, and the sun's energy magnifying that again. Even though it's in the house of Scorpio, it's not going to be in opposition of Uranus. So I think next week it may be back to business as usual again. So we'll have a jolt to the markets. But then we can expect the bulls to maybe come back next week and try and resume the move higher. Though, let's go forward to the 20th of November onwards. This is where, for me, this is where things start to get interesting again. Because here we have, on the 20th onwards, the sun's almost transiting, making its transition into the house of Sagittarius. Here we have Mercury, Saturn, and the moon. Okay? Now if we go forward one day, Tuesday 21st, you have the moon in conjunction with Saturn, and Mercury coming in with a critical degree of Saturn. Now, more importantly, we have, this is the planet Neptune. Now, Neptune on a critical degrees can bring, foretold to bring big market corrections and even market crashes. Now, as we can see here, we have these squares. What this means is planets in position to other planets are squared. So here we have Neptune, here we have Pluto squared. This period of the 20th of November onwards, I think we're going to see, once the sun transits into Sagittarius, where Saturn and Mercury are, and the sun's has no more influence over the Jupiter or Venus, and Venus has separated its conjunction with Jupiter, we're going to have an intensified effect here. Now, Saturn is a planet also that carries very negative energies and aspects, and in Sagittarius it's been shown and proven in history that the crash of 1929, 1987 and 2007, Saturn was in this position of Sagittarius transiting through. So this is a time during the month of November, around the 23rd onwards, that I think we may see some big market volatility for whatever reasons surface. And this, we may finally see a meaningful correction start to happen in the markets. So my forecast for the month of November is, this week onwards we may get a bit of a disruption, but it's going to be short-lived. It may only last 1 or 2 days. Then the markets will bounce back, and next week everything will seem as business as usual. Bulls will come in, buyers will come in. But then November 20th onwards, I think that's when we're going to see something happen. We're going to see maybe some volatility really pick up in these markets, and we may finally see meaningful correction. And that's my analysis for time cycle count for the month of November.